Well, our timing couldn't be any better. If you're a baseball fan, you understand what I'm talking about. It's the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast with you, as always, Jeffri Chadiha from the NFL Network, Sam McDowell from the Kansas City Star. My name is Soren Petro from Sports Radio 810 WHB. Talking Chiefs football, 3-0, undefeated, but winning ugly yet again. Does that matter? We'll discuss it here on the Red, Gold, and Bold. Why doesn't Mahomes look like himself? What to make of Nick Bolton's bounce back game? Does anybody want to get on board with the Nick Bolton bandwagon now? Is Wanya the left tackle here moving forward? Is it time to panic about Kelce's lack of production? It's now 3 games and counting on that. Should Bryan Cook have been called for the pass interference penalty that he wasn't called for? What are realistic expectations now for Xavier Worthy after what we've seen for 3 games? What's the reaction to Carson Steele's performance? How about Samaje Perine? What's been the biggest surprise so far? We're talking about it right now here on the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast.
You are listening to the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Chiefs on planet Earth, breaking down the Chiefs like no one else can. Red, Gold, and Bold is hosted by Jeffri Chadiha, Sam McDowell, and Soren Petro. Jeffri Chadiha is a senior columnist and on-air personality for the NFL Network and NFL.com. Sam McDowell is the sports columnist for the Kansas City Star. Soren Petro is the afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. The Red, Gold, and Bold podcast is proudly brought to you by David Starnes Allstate Insurance, covering all the important things in your world: home, business, life, and even the fun stuff as well. Motorcycle, boat, ATV, you name it. Get with Dave and he'll have you covered. You can give Dave and his crew a call, visit them online, or stop into any of their locations, including North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. Elevate your coverage, elevate your confidence, and drive worry-free. Don't put those insurance needs off any longer. Get with Dave. He'll give you peace of mind today for the things in your life most important to you. Now, here are the hosts of the Best Chiefs podcast, Jeffri Chadiha, Sam McDowell, and Soren Petro.
Thank you very much, Curtis. We do appreciate it. Off and running here on the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast, where we're talking Chiefs football. 3-0 are these Kansas City Chiefs, but it's been ugly, and it was ugly yet again. It's a nail-biter. They keep winning, Jeff, but just barely. Is it okay? You all right with how ugly it's been? Can they continue to win like this?
Well, wins are wins. And anytime you get one in the NFL, you got to feel good about yourself. So you can't really complain about that. There's only, 2 or 3 undefeated teams left in the league right now. So that's good for them. But you're right. I think the margin for error clearly is, if you're even the most optimistic Chiefs fan has to be concerned about 3 games that have come down to the last play that have involved some form of officiating calls in the last minute or two that's helped the outcome. It just speaks to, look, I said at the start of the year, this team the margin for error is very slim. There's not this huge divide between them and the rest of the league. And you're seeing that week in and week out. And I think it's going to be that way the rest of the year.
Sam, how about you? Is this, we keep saying it, great win or lucky to survive? I mean, I think when you've done it 3 times, clearly there's a formula to what you're doing. It's not a fluke by any stretch of the imagination if you're 3-0. Jeff said it. I thought it was, unless I'm thinking back to last week, but I thought it was 5 undefeated teams: Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Kansas City in the AFC, Minnesota, and Seattle in the NFC. So you're one of only 5 teams to be 3-0, but your competition, albeit the Chiefs have laid 3 of these 7 losses on them, that your competition is just 2-7 so far. Winning ugly okay for you if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, the way this looks?
Yeah, I take both sides of this issue. Just a really great thing for a columnist to do here. But look, I think ugly is overstating it. They haven't played great, but I don't think that it has been ugly. I think there's been moments that provide some optimism for the way the rest of the season has gone. But just take the way they've won and just look at that in its own box. The Chiefs built this reputation because of their postseason success over the 5 years, that they win all these games, that anytime it does get ugly, anytime it gets close late, the Chiefs are going to win the game. That was not this team a year ago. When you look up their results just last season, in games Patrick Mahomes started, they were 5-5 in games decided by one possession. They were 1-4 in games decided by 6 points or less. 1-4. They won 1 out of 5 of those. And this was a team that when something adverse hit them a year ago, they broke. They broke with the Kadarius Toney offside. We know the Christmas Day game was bad, but you also have to remember the sideline incident, with Travis Kelce throwing his helmet and Andy Reid not wanting to give it back to him. We saw this team break when they hit adversity last year. This team's hit some adversity this year, and they're winning games anyway. So I think there's something to it. I think that mentally we saw this team grind through some things last year while losing. And so I think it absolutely is important, the fact that they're winning these games instead of losing them. I don't think it's just a bounce of the football situation.
By the way, we stream live Tuesday nights at 9:30 p.m., Saturdays at 10 a.m. That's Central Time, as we have people watching tonight from Austin to Australia. So if you're catching us via the podcast later in the week, you can be a part of the conversation. We're putting up the comments of a lot of folks in the chat room. Like I said, Austin, Australia. I got a lot of places where the Red, Gold, and Bold is a part of people's routine. Make it part of your routine as well. I get it. You don't apologize for a win in the NFL. I think Sam makes a good point. I do think these teams, the opposition is better than the 2-7 record that they have posted.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to turn this into a breakdown of the Cincinnati Bengals and all their woes, right? But, you can only beat the teams that are put in front of you, right? That's for sure for the Chiefs, and they're going to catch a spot. We'll talk more about this on Friday with the Charger team that's now shocking, already banged up again. New head coach, same story. Yeah. Injuries galore everywhere. So you don't have to apologize for that, but you would like to see them play better. You would like to see them hit on more cylinders. And I don't know. I think the question, because we're now 3 games into it, Travis Kelce doesn't look like Travis Kelce from last year. And he took a step back last year, and he still doesn't look as good as last year at this point. Xavier Worthy had a big splash in the opening game. It hasn't done a whole lot since then. And the offense really, Jeff, feels a lot like last year's offense. Now, the defense feels a lot like last year's defense. That's the good news. But I think the hope was the offense, and I obviously, president of the club again, had a big belief that the offense was going to take a giant step forward. How much of a problem is it that it looks like it's just the exact same formula as last year?
Well, part of the issue is injuries, right? I mean, you don't have Hollywood Brown. You don't have Isaiah Pacheco. I forget who just posted the point about, well, once defenses start focusing on somebody besides Travis Kelce, he'll get his. Well, who are they supposed to focus on? I've been saying it for the last 3 weeks. Who do you trust in this offense to go out and make plays consistently for you who's not named Rashee Rice? And the answer is nobody. And that's, again, that's a testament to them being 3-0 with these issues. These are like, first world problems they're dealing with. But as you move deeper into the season, as injuries become more of an issue for you, with other guys getting banged up, they are at a point where people have to be honest with themselves. And I think what you're talking about, like the way you felt about this offense, people remember 2020. They remember 2019. And those days are over. This is what they're facing. This is what every good offense faces in this league. You have to find ways to manufacture points because people aren't going to give you explosive plays. And just because you want to throw the football down the field doesn't mean people will let you do that. And so that means, Xavier Worthy. That means, whoever else it is, Nicole Hardman. There was a lot of talk about Justin Watson stepping up in this offense with Hollywood Brown. Has he caught a pass yet? And has he been playing? And so I just don't know where all these weapons are at that people are expecting to just go off because they're not there. And it's affecting the quarterback.
Sam, how about this one? Kevin says they do have the second most points of any team scored so far this year. So is it just the nature of the game? You're going to have to win. Everybody's going to have to win these close games, and they're actually pretty good at it. And so instead of bemoaning the fact that they can't separate from anyone, we should be celebrating the fact that they seem to have, certainly over the last 10, 12 games going back into last year, the magic elixir on how to win these close ones.
Wait a minute. They have the second most points scored?
That's what
can't be accurate.
In the AFC, they do. I don't know
Okay.
I don't know for sure if it's the NFL, but they do in the AFC.
Because the Saints and the Bills certainly have way more points than they do.
They have 75, which is second in the AFC, In the NFC, 79 for Washington, 77 for Dallas, 85 for Minnesota, 75 for Green Bay, 103 for New Orleans, 82 for Arizona. Just to fact check what it is, second most in the AFC. Sam is right. Go ahead, Sam.
No, I just wanted to let that Sam is right sit there for a second.
I've already come here. Look here, Matt. Agree with Sam 100%. I agree with Sam more than eager. It's been a Sam love. They even want to put together like a GoFundMe page to get something on your wall. Nothing but love for Sam.
Look, I mean, we ought to move on to the next point, I think, Strim, because this is like the Chiefs' offensive problem is really unfamiliar to them, which a lot of their issues in this last game was the quarterback. I mean, Patrick Mahomes did not play well. And if you are a Chiefs fan wondering, like, how you're going to solve your offense, if Patrick Mahomes is your answer, you're in a pretty good spot. Last year, it was not a Patrick Mahomes issue. There was a lot of other issues. It was everything Jeff mentioned about their weapons. I still think because of Rashee Rice's growth from year 1 to year 2, the Chiefs have better weapons than they did a year ago. Hollywood Brown missing is a bigger deal than people are giving it credit for. I'm glad Jeff mentioned it again. Isaiah Pacheco mentioning, I think, is overstated. I still think they're okay without having the exact starting running back that they need. But, they didn't with Rashee Rice's improvement, they didn't have that option a year ago when Travis Kelce, when we saw his aging symptoms a year ago, it was nobody. This year, there's somebody, at least for now, with Rashee Rice. And I still think they're in a better spot than they were a year ago, as long as the quarterback plays better.
Yeah, I listen, and that's one of the big questions, and that's what we'll talk about next. We got a lot of people chiming in about Patrick Mahomes and how he is playing. First of all, though, we'll tell you, of course, we're brought to you by our friends at David Starnes Allstate Insurance. David Starnes Allstate Insurance, serving the Kansas City area and all throughout the Midwest. With David Starnes Allstate, it's not just about fender benders. Beyond traditional safeguards, enjoy perks like roadside assistance for unexpected breakdowns, transportation expense coverage when your car is in the shop, auto replacement protection to keep you on the road in style, and much more. You can give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Visit them online or stop into any of their locations, including North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. David Starnes, Allstate Insurance. Gay and Asphalt and Concrete, proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor, making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Get your seal coating done now before the weather turns cold. Weekends are booking up fast. With free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty, Gann Asphalt keeps your parking lot safer and helps you and your business avoid unnecessary delays and costly expenses. Find Gann online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. I want to correct one thing I said, at least Tommy Moe. I guess I said 10 a.m. on Saturdays. If I did that, I apologize. It's 10 a.m. on Fridays that we bring you the Red, Gold, and Bold. So thank you for correcting me on that, Tommy. If I did make
directly if he wants.
If I didn't screw you, Tom,
you just chat with him on the phone, 10 o'clock.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. There it is. I'll break it down with you one-on-one. Right. Swing by the pad, man. We'll go through it all. So if I said that, I apologize. Yeah, it's 10 a.m. On Fridays that we get you ready for the upcoming game. Gentlemen, let's talk about Patrick Mahomes. Why doesn't he look like himself? Jeff, early on, I have to go back. We got a lot of folks in the chat room today and a lot of comments. It'd be a ways back to find it, but a couple of folks saying Patrick Mahomes' arm is shot. He's underthrown some people. What do you think? Why doesn't he look like himself?
I don't see arm strength being an issue. I feel like part of the issue is part of the issue was last year, which was they want to play a certain style of football that people aren't letting them play. And so when you take that away, it really, so much of this offense, it's not a rhythm-based offense. It's a improvisation-based offense. It's a feel-based offense. It's a lot of guys out there trying to, kind of feel their way through, the passing game. And so it's when it's not looking great, it does look weird. But I think a lot of it is who's he trust out there. I keep coming back to this. It looks good when he's throwing the ball to Rashee Rice. Looks really good then. when he's throwing to Kelce, Kelce can't get open. Whether that's scheme, whether that's age, that's a factor. And so everybody else is, I just don't think the trust is there for him. And when the trust is not there for him, I think it looks a lot worse than it does for somebody who's more of a pure drop back passer like a Tom Brady or a Peyton Manning or whatever, because then it's like he starts running around to buy time. Guys are in the wrong spot. I do think sometimes he's throwing the ball in places just to avoid interceptions because guys aren't doing the right thing, and he may take the burden for that. But I think I agree with what Sam said earlier, that he's easy to fix. The problem is what's out there around him.
Yeah, Sam, you got a theory on why he doesn't look like himself?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to use Jeff's word trust, but with a different group of people, and that's his offensive line. He looks like a quarterback who's reacting to pressure, specifically Sunday in Atlanta, that was reacting to pressure that wasn't existent. And the result is that he's hurrying his throws. Patrick Mahomes, I said this on your show today, Soren, he was the least pressured quarterback in the entire NFL in week 3. So only 16.7% of his dropbacks. Now, part of that is because they're throwing the ball incredibly quickly. They're throwing the ball, at a significantly higher percentage. They're throwing the ball under 2.5 seconds. But it's not because there's pressure constantly in his face. It's because the quarterback is rushing his process. There were several throws on an example-by-example basis on the opening drives, on some third downs, where he chucks it, his footwork's off, his base is not facing the right direction. And look, that part is understandable because Patrick Mahomes gets by with that. There's nobody that throws off platform better than he does, but it doesn't mean that's the way he should throw the ball. The Chiefs had open receivers. They had the second most separation among the receivers of any team in the league. Again, part of that is because they're throwing short, they're throwing quickly, but the game plan was there. The Falcons allowed exactly what the Chiefs were trying to exploit, and the inaccuracy was too frequent for them to move the ball. And the interception is one example, but there were several more examples. A 3rd down and 6 play with Rashee Rice, where he's got a dive and catch it that prevents a first down. A drag play that Rashee Rice gets a drop for. He should get a drop for it, but if he leads him, it's a first down play. I just didn't think Patrick Mahomes was at his best, and I think it's because he got lazy with his throws, because he got hurried with his throws, because he was forced to get hurried with his throws a week earlier and was still reacting to that in week 3. And like I said, I mean, that's if you're the Chiefs, if you're going to have a problem, that's the problem you want to have, because that's the problem you can fix.
Yeah, and that's kind of that's part of what the point I'm making is that so much of their offense relies on all this, again, this movement that's not really choreographed in this way. Like, yeah, Kelce could be open, but if Mahomes is under pressure, he's not going to see him. Or if the play's going a different direction, he's not going to see him. And you can't allow for these 5 or 6 second pass plays to develop with the way the offensive line is. And so that's part of it too. It's just there's people, again, if it's when Tom Brady was playing New England, okay, this is what I'm seeing coverage-wise. This is where I'm throwing the football. It's out in 2.5 seconds. We're moving on. That's not how they operate in Kansas City.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of times he threw in under 2.5 seconds, like I said, it was a major increase, the least pressured quarterback in the league last week. But I do want to clarify, that doesn't mean the offensive line necessarily played well. We didn't get a chance to see if the offensive line played well because he was so eager to get rid of the football, as if he didn't trust that group. The Chiefs might have called more deep plays than we saw, but he was so eager to get rid of the football. I don't know whether that was his first option, because throughout the game, he looked like a player who was like, I got to get rid of it. Even when the pocket suggested he didn't need to, that was still the mindset he had in that game.
Yeah, I think, and a lot of people firing out here with some of their, different theories. Does he trust his line? Where's the slant was one of the ones from earlier. I'm a big one on the slant play, and it worked against Baltimore. It was there against Baltimore. That's where Rashee Rice really made his hay, was taking the slant against Baltimore. And it's something that, was a little bit frustrating for me last year. And why didn't they get to that more? Right? Like, I mean, I think it was there more often, but they just weren't getting to it. I think, for me, look, I think everything everyone said is true. I think there's a little bit of everything in there. I do think it poses, and Sam and I touched on this a little bit today on the radio show, but Jeff, they have been making a lot of commercials, man. They've been doing a lot of stuff. And I'm not one to believe that like you got to spend your entire offseason with your nose in a playbook or throwing the ball around. You need to get the hell away from football for a while. You need a break. And maybe they don't even realize it. I mean, maybe it's something that's unavoidable. Like, listen, we see all the little bracelets that Patrick Mahomes wears. We know that there are visits to hospitals and different things. Everybody and their brother wants to see it. It may not even be that it's the commercialization of them. Like, and I'll point this out. Maybe some of it's Andy Reid, right? Can I nominate Andy Reid for part of the equation? That maybe, the all-powerful and all-seeing and almighty Andy Reid. And I'm not saying that like flippantly. I think he's the best coach in football now, and I think I'll make a great argument that he's the best coach that's ever lived. All right. So I'm not trying to be flippant, and I'm not trying to say anything there, but I am offering up that it could be everybody, right? Maybe Kelce. Was a little bit more distracted. Maybe the line is off a little bit at the tackle spot. Maybe that the game plan is to throw short because they don't trust the line. So he's not getting pressured technically because they're unloading the ball, but they're not getting to the full package of what it is they want to do because they can't throw the deep balls. How about this one? I mean, am I the only one that thinks Xavier Worthy's just been kind of dropped in to the Kadarius Toney package of plays? What really looks different from how they're using Kadarius Toney in a lot of ways, other than some down? I mean, there are more downfield routes for him because he can at least kind of figure it out. But there's still a lot of stuff where they're getting him the ball behind the line of scrimmage. And the big advertisement, Jeff, was that this is a real wide receiver. This isn't a guy who's just fast. He's a real wide receiver. Yeah. Well, how about the Eddie Kennison 15-yard out? Yeah. Like, where like I for a couple of years, I kept screaming for the slant, and I love all the ornate, and Andy Reid's great with all the route combinations and everything. But sometimes just, at 12, put your foot in the ground and cut out to the sideline, and I'll hit you, toe tap it in, and we got a first down, and let's move forward. Like, has maybe Andy Reid got too bogged down in his own, complexities?
Yeah, I mean, that's human nature, though, especially in the NFL, where the more you win, the more you can convince yourself that you're winning is a product of your genius, of your brilliance, right? There's never anything else that's a factor in this except what you've been doing, which can lead to faulty personnel evaluations. It can lead to overestimations of your scheming ability. It can lead to overestimations of your ability to use players within those schemes. And I think you're seeing all that happen right now. Again, I don't know why Kingsley Suamataia was only playing, limited snaps in the preseason. I don't know why. Again, me watching Xavier Worthy, I saw him in college. I saw him run at the combine. I saw his weight and his height. This is what I expected him to be. He's going to have moments like he had in Baltimore, and he's going to have moments where he disappears because it's hard to be that size and do the thing that Tyreek Hill used to do in this offense. And that is a factor. And so, again, where's Justin Watson at? Like, where's McCole Hardman? We know Sky Moore was an issue last year. Juju obviously showed up for a big touchdown last week, but Noah Gray, it's just, I think they will figure this out because they find a way to figure out. The problem is it's not going to be out-talenting people that does it. And that's what people have to get their head around. It's okay that Travis Kelce's getting older. It's okay that some of these guys aren't what they had a few years ago, but you can't lie to yourself about it. And you can't underestimate that the rest of the league every year comes in hungry too. It's just like watching Rocky III. Rocky Balboa is sitting there, like hanging out with his wife and rolling around in the grass, and Clubber Lang's out there, punching the sides of meat, ready to get at him.
God, what a great analogy.
Yeah, that's what Buffalo is right now. Buffalo is sitting there, ready to get it on.
So the Buffalo's working out, and Andy Reid's playing with his robot.
That's right. Hanging out with Paulie,
shining his black Ferrari after he washes his red Porsche or whatever. Sylvester Stallone was doing there, whatever Rocky Balboa was doing. Yeah, that could be okay. I'll buy that. How about his arm is shot? Right, like
I don't buy that.
Yeah, I don't see that. I also I know I'm in the minority on this one. I didn't have a problem with the Chiefs game plan on Sunday. Throwing it short was open all game long. They took advantage of getting the ball in Rashee Rice's hands as quickly as possible. The Falcons had no answer for it. If the quarterback connects on more of those passes, we're talking about a much better offensive games. And they ran the ball extremely well. They had the highest success percentage on runs of any team in the league last week. I didn't have an issue with the game plan last week. Having said that, yes, I agree that a coach can get comfortable, an offensive coordinator can get comfortable, a quarterback can get comfortable. I just don't think this game is the shining example of that. I think it's just a game where the quarterback was off. He was inaccurate on throws that he usually hits, and we can debate the reasons for it. I still think, Ryan had a comment earlier about him seeing the film, and maybe that changes his mindset. Andy Reid, I thought the most interesting thing he said on Sunday or Monday was a quote he said on Monday, where he said, the more we secure things up front also helps. He came off a game where he had to get the ball out quickly last week, meaning against the Bengals, with the pressure that was on him. But I thought the offensive line did a nice job here, meaning against the Falcons. And I think Pat will see that, and that also helps the situation. Andy's saying he's spooked by his own offensive line, and that caused him to rush throws in that game.
How about this one? I do think this is kind of interesting. Where Ben and then somebody else kind of mentioned this as well. Back to the wide receiver issue. It isn't a problem that the whole league is running cover 2 and they draft him a small guy to go deep instead of, like the Buffalo Bills looked at what's going on in the NFL. They traded back, let the Chiefs have the 170-pound receiver and said, we'll take the big old school 49er West Coast offense looking guy. Give us a guy that looks more like Terrell Owens for what people are doing here in the league. They picked the wrong, at least right now, did they pick the wrong guy, Jeff? Is it the wrong style?
Yeah. Well, look, it's a style they want to play. And so I'm not going to knock them for that. But there is, going back to your point about Andy, this belief like, I'll just scheme it up, get these guys the ball, and they'll just take over from there. And that's hard to do when you aren't allowed to have the explosive plays. Like this whole notion that we'll just have fast guys running down the field and the whole offense will open up to us. It's just not real. And now Buffalo's a different beast just because you're talking about, they got this big young receiver. They've got a couple really athletic tight ends. They got the small guy in Shakur who can run.
They got Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Let's not forget.
Yeah. But James Cook, and then you got
two-time champion.
You got a 6'5", 250-pound quarterback who can run. And so it's hard to defend all that stuff. I don't think that's. I don't think it's a knock that they wouldn't draft Worthy. The knock I have, they don't have anybody else to put into that package when they get into certain parts of the field to take the pressure off having a guy like Worthy. Sam talks about Rashee Rice and he's played well, but it's pretty obvious to me that every team they're playing right now is saying, okay, throw the ball out in the middle of the field, get into 20, and I will D you up. And we're going to make it hard for you in the red zone because you don't have anybody else aside from Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce who we're worried about down here.
Yeah, no, I think it's a fair point. Listen, and a lot of folks chiming in saying, look, when do the playoffs come around? It'll be fine. A lot of people saying, yeah, Mahomes looks like himself. He's winning. He's 3-0. And at the end of the day, that is the most important part. One of the main reasons they won this past week, though, was the defense and Nick Bolton making a big play. We'll get into that right after you hear from our sponsors.
Get your keys to the kingdom at Key Cannabis Dispensaries. Unlock unbeatable savings and a chance to win a KC VIP game day experience when you shop at Key Cannabis throughout the month of September. In September, every $65 you spend will enter you to win. Save on product and qualify for an exclusive Black Friday game day giveaway. It's a win-win. Visit any of our 12 locations in Missouri to learn more or visit keycannabis.com/sweepstakes for full contest rules and conditions.
Feel your best every day with Restore Hyper Wellness. Cutting-edge treatments like IV therapy, cryotherapy, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, NAD, IM shots, and a variety of skin health services designed to help you recover like the pros. Boost energy, reduce stress, and enhance well-being. It's perfect for athletes, busy professionals, and anyone looking to improve health. First-time IV therapy is just $99 when you mention Petro. That's right, mention my name, Petro, and your first IV therapy is just $99. Visit Restore Hyper Wellness in Zona Rosa or Hawthorne Plaza at 119th and Row. Embrace a healthier, happier you. Everybody ready to get on board on Team Nick Bolton? Jeff, you like some defense. The game-winning play. 3 tackles for loss from the middle linebacker spot. Tell me you're not ready to give $100 million to Nick Bolton.
I'm not ready to give $100 million to Nick Bolton. Is that what you want me to say? It was a great play by him. I thought it was a horrible play call by Atlanta. I always hate running the ball east-west when you need inches to gain. But he sniffed it out, and he made the play. And it became a Nick Bolton type of game. Not to take any credit away from him. Once you realize Atlanta couldn't really throw the football down the field when they lost their center and their right tackle, it opened up a lot more reasons for them to rely on Bijan Robinson, and it just that's Nick Bolton's game. I mean, they really couldn't threaten them with the pass once that happened. And so, I'm a Nick Bolton fan. I don't like him in pass coverage, but I think he brings a lot with leadership and smarts and run defense. And so I was happy for the way he played, because I think he has taken a lot of heat, and there will be some teams that he will have a hard time dealing with. Again, reference the Buffalo Bills and the way they play. But for that game, he was the right guy to have in the middle of the field.
How about you, Sam? Listen, obviously I'm joking around about $100 million, and we can talk about what I think he's doing for his, what he's going to get paid. But what did you think of Nick Bolton's performance? And do you agree he's a little bit of a riddle?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about, and heck, I'll raise my hand as much as anybody over the first 2 weeks, the downside of Nick Bolton, and it's because other teams have recognized that and they've targeted it. And this was a reminder of Nick Bolton's value, and that value, to be clear, does outweigh the negatives that he has. It just shifts the scale on exactly where you place that value. But look, I mean, that last play is a Nick Bolton play. And it's if you go back and watch it, from the moment the Falcons break the huddle, before their linemen are even set, Nick Bolton has his hand out and pointing across the line of scrimmage, because he's pointing out, this is what they're doing on this play. He goes up and tells his defensive lineman, here's what they're running on this play. He shifts himself about 5-6 paces to the right, because he knows that's where this play is going. And then, look, there's a lot of unsung heroes in that play. Mike Dana and Leo Chenal moved the line about 4 yards into the backfield. Now, all of a sudden, Bijan has to run behind those guys. But Nick Bolton just trusts his instincts. He trusted that what he saw was accurate and just darts through the line and makes a play. And the Chiefs talk about this. Terry Braden, their assistant defensive line coach, is in charge of their short yardage meetings. And one of the things he tells guys is, shoot your shot. Short yardage is the time to take the chance. And there was never a better example of that than the Chiefs. Like, if the Chiefs don't get the stop there, they need to let the Falcons score. And so it's a great time just to take a chance and say, I'm going all out here to stop it. And when you recognize the play and you're telling your teammates on the field, here's what they're running, like, that's Nick Bolton's value, that I think, even though he does get credit for that tackle, the reasons why that tackle happened is the most impressive part to me.
Yeah, I want to highlight this. Blake says Bolton is going to get Anthony Hitchens money. He's got a smile on his face. But I think it's kind of interesting because I think moving forward, Jeff, that's one of the things I think with the Chiefs, they probably took a shot at getting him signed. I think they would have liked to get him signed. I think when Noah Gray signed, it meant that Nick Bolton wasn't going to get a deal, at least until he gets to free agency. And I don't know that that's the worst thing, because I don't know how you prioritize Nick Bolton. I think if he gets to free agency, he's gone, because he'll have at least 2, maybe a 3rd Super Bowl ring when he gets there. And I think it'll be time to get paid at that point. And I think most people look at it in a 3 for 19, maybe because he's only 25. That's exactly what they gave to Drew Tranquil. But he's only 25 years old, and he's young. He's the youngest one. Trey Smith is young. Trent McDuffie is young, and he'll be young when he hits the market as well. I think that most teams will view him and say, yeah, 4 for 24, like that $6 million range. I think the Anthony Hitchens deal was a wake-up call to the rest of the league. But I think it only takes one team that says we're a couple of defensive pieces away from being a contender. It takes that team that the GM's going into year 3 or year 4, the coach is going into year 3 or 4, and they got to win right now, and they overpay for what Nick Bolton can do, because they still have kind of a defensive mentality and they're going to stop the run. I'll say this. Trent Green told me, one, he talked to Nick Bolton about all his film study, and Bolton, I think, had studied the tape on that. 2, Trent pointed out, he goes, there's just no way that there wasn't somebody assigned to get out to him and rub up to the second level and put a helmet on him. So let's give some credit to the defensive line, or just the stupidity of Atlanta for not getting out to block us out. Because Trent's like, there's no way there wasn't somebody who was supposed to get to that level and get to him. No one got to him. He had to run
you got 2 backup linemen in the game.
Yeah.
That's the problem if you're Atlanta. That's what I'm saying. Why are you running that play? You kind of know you can't run it anyway with who you got on the field. But again, they sniffed it out and they made the play, so you can't really take it away from them. But the market for Nick Bolton will be interesting if he becomes a free agent because he does have limitations. I mean, if the Dallas Cowboys had the money, they'd pay him right now to put him in. But they got all kinds of run defense problems. But I think his leadership, his resume, the championships, yeah, he'll get a decent amount of money. It won't be crazy money. It won't be Roquan Smith money, but he'll get a decent chunk.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a paycheck coming in the very near future for him. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Sam, I mean, do you see a chance that he gets re-signed?
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance, but I agree with your assessment. I think most likely he gets to free agency, and free agency is not about your worth; it's about what one team's willing to pay you. And I think there'll be 3 or 4 that are willing to pay Nick Bolton more than the Chiefs will. But to be honest, when you've got a center that makes the money that the Chiefs are paying, you're paying a tight end what they're paying. I'd also think it's more than the Chiefs should be willing to stretch their budget.
Yeah, I mean, there's a limit to how much money that's out there, but it was an impressive game, to say the least. Listen, we're always brought to you by our friends at David Starnes Allstate Insurance. David Starnes Allstate Insurance. Elevate your coverage, elevate your confidence, and drive worry-free. Covering all the important things in your world: home, business, life, and even the fun stuff, as well as your motorcycle, boat, ATV, and you name it. Get with Dave, and he'll get you covered. You can give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Visit them online or stop into any of their locations: North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. Don't put those insurance needs off any longer. Get with Dave today. He'll give you peace of mind for the things in your life most important to you. David Starnes, Allstate Insurance. All right, let's talk about the left tackle spot, Jeff. Is Wanya Morris the man moving forward? Is he the guy? Was he always going to be the guy? And it was some injuries that nicked him up and sent Kingsley Suamataia into the lineup.
He looked like he deserved another shot to be in the lineup, but certainly. Now, he didn't face the kind of challenge that Suamataia faced, a week ago. I mean, they had a lot. Lorenzo Carter lined up across from him a lot, had Matthew Judon on the right side, which makes a difference. But yeah, I feel like he definitely acquitted himself nicely, and there wasn't the kind of issues you saw against the Bengals. Watching it made me wonder if they should have done a better job of letting this competition play out in camp. It just seems like they gave the job to Suamataia very early in camp, or made it seem like, okay, he's going to win it, and Wanya is still going to be the backup. But maybe that helped Wanya Morris. Maybe that lit a fire under him, made him realize the urgency of taking advantage of this opportunity. But yeah, I don't see a reason why you'd go back to Suamataia based on recency. I mean, one guy played awful, the other guy did pretty well.
Yeah. What do you think? Wanya Morris the guy moving forward, Sam? Do you see a switch coming anytime soon?
I mean, I agree with Jeff. He's earned another start, and particularly when one of my points on Patrick Mahomes was I thought he mentally was reacting to stuff that wasn't there. I don't think it's a great time to put the left tackle in that probably caused that. And Wanya Morris was hard to evaluate because, first of all, he only gives up 2 pressures in the game. But again, the Chiefs were throwing the ball so quickly, there wasn't a lot of time where he had to protect for a significant amount of time to let a play develop. So it's hard to give him a grade for that game. I still think he has maybe, a B-type game. And the Chiefs right now, left tackle, with the situations over the past few weeks, like, if the guy has a B-type game, like, leave him in there. Let him have another week.
Yeah, for sure. I think it is, nice to see the guy bounce back and play well. And I don't think he dominated, but you didn't hear his name, right? Like, you didn't, and it certainly wasn't a meltdown. And I think that's kind of a tough spot. Like, Sam, we were up at training camp. It wasn't like they were showing any kind of, shyness about saying, this is our guy. We're going with Wanya Morris. I mean, I like they were always on Kingsley Suamataia as soon as they put the pads on. So I was it a motivating thing? I can't figure out, Jeff, why he would have run all the time with the ones, unless they really thought he was the guy, or they were just trying to force him into that spot. But I will give them credit. they realize this isn't working, and they not only made a change in game, but they've made a change and stayed with it.
Well, it goes back to what you were saying earlier about Andy, and just sometimes you can feel like you're smarter than everybody else, right? And I think they felt, here's a guy we drafted. He's going to be great because he's in our offense. He's a BYU guy, second round kid. We love him. We see all these tools. And they couldn't envision a world where he would start off falling on his face. And, I try not to get too caught up in training camp discussions, but it just always makes me laugh. People are like, this guy's having an amazing camp. He's killing it. He's going against guys who are like not trying to kill the quarterback, right? He's going, just because you saw him against George Karlaftis or Mike Dana in practice doesn't mean he's going to be able to block Trey Hendrickson or Nick Bosa, whoever he's going to see in the regular season. There's going to be some growing pains for him. And so, yeah, there's something to be said for experience, having a year in the league, getting your feet wet, having an off season to work with people. Like that's stuff that Wanya Morris has had. And I'm sure he probably felt like, I'm not losing my job just because they just drafted somebody. I want to keep this job. I want to play in this league. And so Sam's right. It's hard to evaluate him based on some of the things he mentioned, but I certainly feel if you have any kind of competitive spirit, you would do what Wanya Morris did and go out and play your best when you get an opportunity.
Yeah. It's there are a couple of guys that are work in progress. I mean, how many offensive tackles in the league that the teams like, this is our guy, are not first round picks? That's it's a pretty predictable position now. Like, they're pretty good at knowing who the good ones are. And so many of them go in the first round. What do we have, like 7 go in the first round? Now, listen, I don't think anybody in Cincinnati is doing any bragging about Amarius Mims, who, by the way, I'll put my hand up. I thought, that'd be a guy I'd like to fall to the Kansas City Chiefs. Maybe even the Chiefs would move up to get him. And he had a rough go for the Bengals last night. So, but they are overall pretty good at finding those guys. And the Chiefs are penalized by picking 32nd every year. It's tough to find edge rushers and left tackles when you pick as late as they do. Right? I mean,
yeah. But look, I mean, this also speaks to the fact that some of what Kingsley Suamataia is going through is a mental battle. Like, how do you respond when things don't go well? And to Jeff's point, like, that's part of the evaluation during the season that you don't get during training camp, because there's some bad days in training camp. They're not in front of millions of people on TV. Your quarterback doesn't literally get brought to the ground because of it. Like, the consequences of having a bad day at training camp are not the consequences of getting roughed up by Trey Hendrickson and the late window on CBS. It's just a different animal. And we saw him mentally not respond well to it. We saw him panic. And that's why I think he's on the bench. I still think Kingsley Suamataia is the most talented left tackle they have on the roster.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jeff. I'm sorry.
No, I agree with you. Sam's right. I think Suamataia at some point is going to be the starter. It's just a matter of when that happens.
Yeah, he's got some work to do. It's tough to see how he gets better without playing. It's why it would have been nice. And I know somebody mentioned this in the comments. It would have been nice if he played in the preseason. You could have got a better feel for him. Time to panic on the lack of production from Travis Kelce, Jeff?
Yeah. Yeah, I would. I mean, we said it last week, or Sam had the stat about the Falcons, or maybe it was you, being the worst team in the league covering tight ends. And this was the game where you expected Travis Kelce to at least, beat the Travis Kelce of old, maybe not dominate from start to finish. But it's just, to me, it's apparent that, there's probably some scheming going on there that's a factor in this. Yeah, he's probably getting open when the ball's not coming his way, but they obviously want to get him going in some way. There were some plays in that game where I thought, this is just about him touching the football. And if that's, when I used to cover the 49ers when I first was a lot younger, Jerry Rice was somebody who would always complain about his touches late in his career. And he was like, why am I not getting the ball? Because Terrell Owens was taking off, and they would start a drive the whole game with like 7 passes to Jerry just to make Jerry feel good. And I don't think Travis is wired that way, but it's clear they can't get the ball to him as easily as they used to. And that's a problem in this offense, because Patrick has relied so much on him to be the engine that even when Rashee Rice is doing what he's doing, you can still see they miss that they still need that sense of, he's going to move the chains. He's going to make a play that's going to impact the defense in one way. He's going to open up things for other people. That's the one thing about Rashee that I think is not happening. He's not opening up things for other people with what he's doing. Like, he's doing a great job, But when Travis was doing it, everybody else got to eat too.
A couple of the comments here. I'll highlight this one from Oil Karan. He's like a Jason Witten at this point.
I think it's Ollie, not oil.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
No, step ways away from the screen here. Come on. I'm getting old. I need a new prescription glasses. Bear with me here. I don't think the Jason Witten comp, Ollie, I'm sorry, is bad. I mean, I think it's, maybe he's not as electric as he was down the field. This one I can't help you with. Ryan says they need to manufacture touches for Kelce, so Mahomes doesn't force it to him. That's what they did on the opening play of the game. It was the worst play call of the night. Getting the ball to Travis Kelce on a bubble screen. No, he's not an elusive guy. He needs to get down the field. I mean, I know you're saying, okay, not necessarily that play, and I got you. They did want to get him in rhythm and get started, and I think that maybe can take you a little bit out of your rhythm. I've also had people, pointing out, hey, he had the 41-yarder. Mizzou 19 said that 41-yarder from a couple of games ago came off the board. The stats would look better if he had that. But, he said that happens all the time where plays get called back. And he still would go for 1,400 yards. So it's not like there's, a conspiracy to call penalties and just keep him out.
And that was a broken play too, right? If I remember, that was that wasn't like a scripted play. That was a broken play, right?
But he Patrick Mahomes on the scramble finds Travis Kelce. I mean, that's a part of what he does as well. And they're not getting that now. So, I mean, it's different. The question I think that we'll find out over the next 14 games is how different is it? I want to hit this one here because I brought this up. Ask Jeff if Kelce's face looks fat, right? Because
it does.
It does. Okay. Yeah. Is it because of the porn stash?
He looks heavy.
So I brought this up. So does he don't say anything, Sam. Does he look heavier this year than he did last year to you, Jeff?
Yes.
Okay, so that was the vibe in my crew watching the game. First of all, the white-on-white uniform didn't do him any favors. But there seems to be a bit of a belly, and I don't remember noticing that before. But Sam, you said, no, he's in better shape this year than he was last year.
He came into camp in better shape than he came into camp a year ago. And I know that
better shape meaning like weight wise or just
weight. Yes. He came in at a better weight than he did a year ago and better shape. And I think there were people inside that Chiefs building that were eager to see what kind of shape he came into because it was a question from the previous year. And you saw his body not hold up to the rigors of a 17-game schedule a year ago. But look, I mean, Travis Kelce has lost, if not a full step, he's lost half a step. I mean, this is what players in their mid-30s do. Like, we are seeing a normal, trend for a player at a position that requires speed. And I think the most common thing this last game, because Jeff's right, I mentioned last week, this should have been an opportunity for Travis Kelce. The Falcons were the worst team in football defending the middle of the field. They still didn't defend the middle of the field that well. I mean, it's why Rashee Rice caught 12 passes. But they threw the ball so quickly that a lot of times when you go back and watch the film, Travis Kelce's not turned around by the time Patrick Mahomes got rid of the ball. It was a situation where he's slow off the line of scrimmage to where Patrick Mahomes was like, I got to get rid of it. Yeah. I think you might be open on this play. I'm not waiting on it. So I don't think he is getting open on occasion when you go back and watch. There's plenty of times actually when he's open. I just think it's the combination of having a quarterback that's eager to get rid of the football, and that part could change, and that part will change some.
But see, Sam, I would push back on this. It's not open if you're not available when you're still in the football.
Right, right, right.
Yeah. You may be uncovering when the ball's in the air, but that's not open. And so I think the comp for him is Antonio Gates. Antonio Gates was a very explosive, dominant tight end when he was younger, and as he got older, he lost that, and he's played a long time. But when you saw him later in his career, he wasn't doing the same stuff, and Travis is going to be in the same boat.
Let's get into the usual. The Chiefs get all the calls. We'll do that right after you hear from our friends at Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Nationally recognized, full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor. Parking lot problems? They've been making them disappear in KC since 1994. Don't risk accidents and liability in your parking lot. Get your lot restriped today. A brightly striped lot will cut down on accidents and keep your lot as safe as possible. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. All right, let's talk about Bryan Cook. Should have been pass interference, yes or no, Sam? Do you believe that they botched the call there on that one, or no, just a good no call?
Yeah, I mean that's pass interference. But I also like it's the type of flag you miss a lot. The Chiefs already been called for 3 flags on that play. Look,
On that drive, you mean?
on that drive. Yes, sorry. There's plenty of missed calls throughout that game. I will say the one thing Bryan Cook deserves credit for is he has to know that's DPI on 3rd down. He comes back on 4th down and wins. And part of that's because Kirk Cousins, for some reason, throws the ball low instead of high to Drake London on that 4th down. I don't know why that was a strategy of play over the middle, but Cook recognized they're going to go after me over the middle of the field here and reads the play and stops it. So I think for a younger player that hasn't, that missed the last half of last year, the recognition thing is important there that he comes back on 4th down. I just think there's plenty of calls throughout that game that did not go the Chiefs' way. Like I said, 3 calls in the very last drive. But yeah, I mean, the refs missed that. It's a DPI.
Yeah, you agree, Jeff, that this one I am president of the fan club. Like, stop with the Chiefs get all the calls crap that goes on, because we can point out numerous ones. Like, was it you, Sam? Who went on the other? It was you, Sam, that said, "Oh yeah, so I guess they got the call when Kadarius Toney lined up offsides and negated the most dynamic play of last year when Travis Kelce threw the pass downfield." When he was already downfield back to Kadarius Toney, and they called that one back. Jawan Taylor, was the poster child of lining up off sides, and they got numerous calls against the Lions. They lost that game. That whole thing is crap, but I think it's okay. I think it's hard for Chiefs fans. They don't want to admit this because I think those things frustrate them, that we've seen plenty of calls go against the Chiefs. But on this one, that was definitely a big kiss for the Chiefs.
Oh, yeah, that was pass interference. In fact, if you watch the Bengals game last night against it was the Bengals game. I think Joe Burrow threw a pass to Andre Yoshivas, and it was the same exact play. Like, he was trying to go through the guy to get the ball. The ball was thrown at the guy's helmet, and he couldn't get it, and ref just threw a flag. It was a no-brainer PI. Now, what I'll say, which tends to happen, and people always forget this, going back to D Ford being offside and going back to the Saints playing against the Rams in the NFC Championship game, they still played a lot more football after that. Right? There were still opportunities for the Falcons to win the game after that, including, as Sam mentioned, that wasn't the last down of that drive. They had the ball in the last minute trying to drive for a score and got stuffed on 2 back-to-back plays. And so I never really feel sorry for anybody when you still have other chances to win the game. Yeah, it was PI, but it doesn't mean it decided the game.
Joseph Hefner on Twitter does some analytics every week with penalties. And look, the Chiefs over the last 5 years have had more penalties called on them than the opposition, but he does it year by year. And through 3 weeks, the Chiefs have the 8th best advantage on penalties, just in terms of, I'm not saying judgment calls, I'm just saying net. They've got 5 more penalties on their opponents than they do them.
Yeah, okay. So we'll see if that trend continues. By the way, that should have been a point of emphasis for the Chiefs, who had way too many penalties last year. Right? But not turning over the ball should have been an emphasis, and that hasn't worked out so far for this team.
It's incredible when you line up in the right spot how many fewer penalties you get called for.
Yeah, let's save this segment, though, to bust it out when the Chiefs lose a game and there's a big penalty, and every Chiefs fan is going berserk about who was it, Carl Cheppers, the devil in disguise.
What is a realistic expectation now for Xavier Worthy, Jeff? You have been the biggest naysayer on him. Have you adjusted your, overall, this is what you said you thought he would be.
Yeah.
So I don't hear an adjustment coming from you.
No, I'm not a naysayer. I think I've just been realistic about what he is. And even going back to week 1 when he scored those 2 touchdowns, it's just like when he has plays like that, he's going to look spectacular because he's going to run very fast and he's probably going to score. And it's going to look good. But if you're asking for football plays, what you're seeing is what happens when you take a fast guy and put him on a football field with guys who know how to deal with fast guys. You're going to push up on him. You're going to nudge him. You're going to make it harder. You're not going to worry about him fighting through you for the ball. Threw that deep ball to Mike Hughes, who last I remember when he played here was pretty awful, and he almost picked it off. Now, he made a good play of knocking the ball out of Hughes' hands, but it wasn't like he was I've not seen him running wide open except for a broken coverage. And I don't expect him to see him running wide open unless there's some kind of great scheme or a broken coverage, because that's not the kind of player he is.
How about this one? Ryan says, naysayer Jeff is wrong. Deshaun Jackson Jr. is coming, baby. What do you think? More McCole Hardman in his career when it's all said and done, or more Deshaun Jackson? Jeff, which one? Just tell me which one.
McCole Hardman.
Okay, Sam, McCole Hardman or Deshaun Jackson? Which will his career end up being closer to?
I'm going to put that as a spectrum and sandwich him in the middle. I think Xavier Worthy is going to be fine. I think before the season I had him at like 600 to 650, and I still think he ends up there. I mean, he's probably on pace for what's he got, 80 some yards in 3 games, which puts him on pace for like 450 range. I think he could get still to 600, 650. And like, look,
that's where I had it, by the way.
And like, look, as a rookie, that's fine. Like if Xavier Worthy gets 650 yards as a rookie, but is still improving, like that's fine. That's the type of receiver you wanted to get out of the draft.
Carson Steele, what do we think? He got to be the number 1 guy. Jeff, you satisfied with what you saw from Carson Steele?
Yeah, I thought it was a really good debut by him. I thought Samaje Perine ran the ball well too. What they did, they ran it hard. It wasn't spectacular in a lot of ways, but it's when you're playing a defense that's going to sit back and try to play coverage against you and take away your passing game, you need to make them pay for that. And you make them pay for that by running the ball down their throats and making them feel that. And so that's what I thought Carson Steele could do, and that's what he did. And that's what Perine. Now, Perine surprised me. And whether they can sustain that week in and week out, we'll have to go ahead and we'll see where that goes. Because, again, I think Pacheco – Sam and I disagree on this. I think Pacheco means more to this offense just in terms of energy and playmaking ability. But I think if you're getting 70 yards and 4 yards per carry out of those 2 guys, 70 yards from Steele, that is, and 4 yards per carry from both of them, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, I thought the production was fine. I think the running back spot, I like it better with Pacheco in there in the mix as well. Kareem Hunt was, as we tape here on a Tuesday night, was activated to the 53-man roster today. Sam, were you okay with what they got? And what do you think it looks like moving forward?
Yeah, in the run game, I mean, Steele misses the protection on the first Patrick Mahomes interception. So there's still the stuff that we all said was going to be a learning curve from him is the stuff in pass pro. But yeah, I mean, as a runner, he had a 71% success rate on his runs, and success rate is defined by if it's 3rd and 10, you run for 8 yards, that's not a successful play. If it's 1st and 10, you run for 6, yes, that's a successful play. He was 2nd in the NFL this week in terms of success rate. Having said that, that was an offensive line stat, I thought, as much as a running back stat, because he was 4 yards over expectation in terms of that stat, which is still good. Like, you'll take that. But I thought, I mean, look, Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey right now are dominating the run game. They're both, I think, among the top 10 players in terms of run block rate on Pro Football Focus, which I know is not the end-all, be-all, but they've been really good in the running game. But I'm going to throw this at you guys as far as the Chiefs' run game and what they're facing this year. So last year, the Chiefs faced the most light boxes in the NFL. 59% of the times they ran the ball was against a light box. 2 years ago, they were 2nd, 58%. 3 years ago, they were 1st, 64%. 4 years ago, they were 2nd, 59%. This year, they're 17th at 46%. Teams are putting more players in the box right now. And I think part of it is a product of the running game. Part of it is a product of they know the Chiefs are throwing short, and part of it is it's another way to clog up Travis Kelce and the ways for him when you have another guy in the box. And so I think we're seeing teams defend the Chiefs a little bit differently, in which case, Carson Steele having a 71% success rate is more difficult than what the Chiefs have had the past 4 years. He faced a tougher situation to run against than what the Chiefs historically have been. It's a situation I think that's just worth monitoring to see, is this a new way of that the teams are going to attempt to defend the Chiefs now?
Yeah, No, I agree. We'll see what Kareem Hunt adds to the equation. It looks like he should be part of the active roster when they get to LA to take on the Chargers. We will call it a night here on the Red, Gold, and Bold. Remember, we'll be back at it Friday morning at 10 a.m. If you want to catch us on the stream, you can always catch us via the podcast. We're always brought to you by our friends at David Starnes Allstate Insurance. You can give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. David Starnes Allstate Insurance, Gann Asphalt and Concrete. 30 years solving parking lot problems in Kansas City. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com. Our friends at Key Cannabis. You can be a part of their big VIP game day experience. If you want to take a shot at that, just enter at keycannabis.com/sweepstakes and by our friends at Restore Hyper Wellness. First time IV therapy is just $99. When you mention Petro, your first IV therapy is just $99. For Jeffri Chadiha from the NFL Network, Sam McDowell from the Kansas City Star, my name is Soren Petro saying thank you very much for joining us here on the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast.